The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Let's go! What's It's gonna be a football game tonight now. No doubt. It's gonna be a football game here. Okay. I done been here before. All right, let's go, baby.
The 9. Rushing forward, ball comes out of the hands of Newton. It's on the ground, and it's still on the ground. Picked up by T.J. Ward at the 4-yard line. Vaughn Miller did it again.
Alabama back on top of the college football world.
Ladies and gentlemen, football to the max.
Your host, Sean Garmer, Gary Vaughn, and Randy Isbell.
Just awful in the early games and went way down and stopped caring and went and did other things. And then the next thing you know, LeGarrette Blount and Devontae Freeman both scored a touchdown in like a 2-minute period. So it put me right back in it. So I started watching it again just to watch David Johnson just shove me back into the ground.
Well, there you go. You had your fantasy minute right here on the Football to the Max podcast. So, as we have just started with Randy randomly talking about, because I was
ask
like,
me how things go, and then don't tell me we started.
Yeah, I know.
Randy,
I was like,
no, it was my fault because I was sitting there going, I wonder if Randy's gonna wrap up. I was like, well, I can't sit here and leave it on mute for 20 seconds, so let's just have Randy talking at the beginning.
it's like a birthday surprise. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, by the way, happy birthday. You know,
It's an
Randy's
Easter egg at the
birthday.
beginning, right?
But technically, yeah, it is. But technically, it is Randy's birthday because there is a gift he got this week in football, at least in the NFL. He's been waiting for it to happen, and it happened in Houston, and we'll talk about that later. So,
Well, whatever. We just started talking about. Let's just talk about this. Tom Savage, he's real, guys. He is actually the starter for next week after he led the Houston Texans to a 1-point victory over the lowly Jacksonville Jaguars. And hell, I don't blame the coach at all. I can't think of his name right now. Because you really shouldn't be doing that badly against the Jaguars. In fact, Gus Bradley got fired because they lost this game. Well, not because they lost this game. They've been playing badly. They're freaking 2-12. But once again, another firing during the season. Number one. We got a benching here. And yeah, I mean, it's pretty amazing what. Tom Savage didn't throw a touchdown, but he got 260 yards passing, and looked a heck of a lot better than Randy's favorite guy to make fun of.
Yeah, Gary, I don't know why you think I'm so happy about this. Now I have nothing to bitch about. Now what am I going to do? I mean, talking about my Jets is boring at this point.
Well, we can just keep rubbing into the ground the Osweiler if Savage keeps doing well.
hey, no, and not only that, but man, think about this, Randy. You've already talked about it. Now you said you were going to go full force, opposite me and Sean here, and really jump on them Cowboys and give them a hard time.
Oh yeah, because they're on primetime again next week. Tired of
Monday Night Football. I mean, they were already in that slot.
I don't care. I don't care. I want to watch somebody else. Except for the Jets. I don't want to watch them either.
Oh, man.
I'm happy about it because I live in a different state than Gary, and I can actually watch them. So,
but I mean, to go back on point, listen, the Great Mighty Pooh is terrible. We've all discussed it at great length. He was the worst he's ever been on Sunday against a Jaguars team who their defense is starting to click a little bit, which, I mean, obviously
hold
losing.
on. We need to give this stat line because it was terrible. 6 for 11, 48 yards. and 2 interceptions. I mean, 48 yards, and this is the NFL? What the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, absolutely. He gives Jalen Ramsey his first interception of his career. He just too many mistakes. And when you are
and
a
also
team,
I should note that Blake Bortles, 92 yards with 1 interception.
and that's
He's
why
terrible.
he will not be the quarterback. It's just awful. But listen, Houston is fighting for the division. Their defense is good enough to win a division, so they need a quarterback who's going to go out there and game manage. And obviously, the great mighty Pooh could not handle that. So you bring in Savage, whose main goal, and if you watch this game, this is all he did, was turn around and hand it to Lamar Miller or throw it at DeAndre Hopkins. And that's all you have to do with that Houston offense. Give it to your 2 playmakers. And that's all Savage has to do, and that's why it's his job now. And we'll see where they go from here. But when you're in a division battle with the Colts, who surprised everybody with their performance against the Vikings, and the Titans, who continue to beat teams they shouldn't beat, you can't have a quarterback in there handing the game away to the opposition. So that move made complete sense.
Yeah, and Tom Savage, if Tom Savage figures out how to throw it to Will Fuller, they'll be in even better shape. So I think you really can't ask for him to do more than he did here. I mean, the receivers already have. Notice how you don't have C.J. Fedorowicz even on this stat sheet. You have other guys that are, well, either way, you have other guys that are way better than C.J. Fedorowicz on this stat sheet. So I just want to make this point that the only guy that Osweiler could even.
Don't be hating on Fedorowicz. He's this year's Gary Barnidge.
No, that's Osweiler's only guy he can figure out how to throw the ball to. So, Tom Savage actually figured out.
Which made him this year's Gary Barnidge.
That's fine. But at least, Tom Savage figured out how to throw it to other people, and that's the point.
I agree.
I don't know if you want to say anything, Gary, but.
No, I mean, you guys are right. And, this is the biggest thing that's going to be for me, and that is, what are they really going to do with the great mighty Pooh? Keep him on another year, cut the dead weight, find a way to trade him to somebody who may be saying to themselves, oh, we can fix this guy. We'll see. But I think that's the biggest intrigue here. But I think his days in Houston are done. I just think that they want to move on and find someone that the crowd wants to be a part of, that the team wants to be a part of, and not what they've got this year with a guy that they paid way too much money for. So, yeah, I mean, I'm full of intrigue right now.
I do want to say that the defense did a really great job of shutting down Jacksonville once you got to the second quarter.
Like it's that hard anymore.
I know, but the Jacksonville Jaguars got out to a 13-0 lead. It was 13-5 at halftime. Then, other than special teams letting a 100-yard kickoff return go in, they really shut them down in the third and fourth quarter and allowed for this comeback to happen. So, just saying that the defense did their part. Osweiler didn't do his, and Savage is in, and, we'll have to see. I mean, like I mentioned earlier, it's not like Blake Bortles did much better. His mechanics continue to be terrible. The defense has actually sort of been improving for Jacksonville as time has gone on, which is Gus Bradley's strength, and he finally gets fired here. I think the owner was rather clear that they needed to do something this year. They didn't. I'm surprised they let Gus Bradley go on this long, knowing that they were going to have a terrible losing season. They're now 2-12 with 2 games left. I mean, I don't know. Do you guys think that Bradley should have stayed for the season? Do you think this should have happened earlier? I mean, is there anything here for Gus Bradley?
Well, listen, I don't understand, we should have got rid of him earlier because the season's in the toilet. Firing him, say, 6 weeks earlier was not going to fix the season. So go ahead, let him try to salvage something, get things rolling, show improvement, and go into next season. Obviously, none of that improvement happened. The defense was getting better. I totally agree, but they needed to see more. They needed to see W's. None of that's happening. I'm loving the rumors and the intrigue of a possible Tom Coughlin coming to Jacksonville to end his career, just for the fact that you have so many young players there. Whether Blake Bortles is a quarterback or not, I like that the owner is saying, listen, you don't have to go with Bortles next year if you don't want to, whoever the coach is. But having a Coughlin go in there and, his hard-ass attitude and really drill into them, the mindset of working hard and working on your mechanics and getting better, have him there for 2-3 years to really get this ball rolling, and then find a coach that will work with them the right way. And you can build it into a dynasty, which is, I wouldn't say is like they're going to be the next Patriots or anything.
Jacksonville Jaguars.
But they have so much talent. That's the thing. You got to find a coach like Coughlin who's going to, no excuses, no nonsense, and get them going in the right direction. That's why I like the Jaguars this year. There is so much talent there. It's just Gus Bradley could not find a way to get them to fix their mistakes, to focus, to learn. None of that happened on the offense, and they regressed. And you need somebody like Coughlin to find that potential that we all see. The junk time Jaguars was not because, they were down by 30 and the team just gave up. They were down by 30, and then they just let things go. They just let their natural talents take over and stopped overthinking. This year, I honestly think it was, people think we're going to be good, and they tried too hard, and they overthought, and they overtried, and it just screwed everything up. So get Coughlin in there to just scrape all of that away and go, no, this is what we're doing, and here we go, and turn their brains off, and let's go. It's a disappointing year for the Jaguars, that's for sure.
Yeah, it is. And, a lot of fantasy football players also did not show up that were a part of that team that we loved last year, like Blake Bortles. And, like this Allen Robinson, yeah. Some great names from last year that are no names this year. This entire team has just had a rough way about it, and this is just not good. You do always have to look at the coaching, see where they're going, understand what the scheme was, and it was obvious it just was not working, and it seemed like nothing they did was improving. So you got to make that, call. And a lot of times at the end of the year too, you kind of make your decisions as an owner based on what other teams are doing, and you're seeing Jeff Fisher get fired. You're hearing rumors about guys like Rex Ryan going to get fired. All these other rumors are circulating around. Other guys could be getting the axe soon. So you want to have a shot at getting whatever coach you want. So you start thinking to yourself, if I fire my guy now, I can start putting the word out that my team is interested in a head coach. That way you don't maybe lose a guy to another owner. And so I think that's part of the reason why they went ahead and said, you know what, let's cut the fat now. Let's let it be known that the Jacksonville Jaguars have all that talent that Randy just talked about, and says, okay, who do you want to be a part of? Do you really want to go to the Rams, or do you want to come here? Because we have a lot of talent too, and you may be able to put some of your own wits and ability with ours, and we could be a playoff team next year. Do the Rams really have that? Think about it. Things like that. That's what the questions they'll be throwing out. So this is not just about getting rid of a coach that wasn't really helping his team. It's also about working for the future to get another coach.
Yeah, certainly. And I think, Tom Coughlin, the first head coaching job that he had, Jacksonville Jaguars. So it took him all the way to the AFC Championship game. So, Navy history gets to repeat itself. For the Jaguars. You never know. That would be pretty cool if he retires as the Jaguars coach. So, wow, we talked about this a lot longer than we didn't even talk about the Monday Night Football game. But that was surprising, too. The Washington Redskins now put themselves in a big pickle losing this game to the Panthers. Now, look, they got the Chicago Bears next, so, it is what it is. But they do have to worry about the fact that they've got a rough road, because the last game of the season they got a Giants team that's been surging, and you lose a game that you really needed to win. You're really behind here because now Tampa Bay has lost. And now Tampa Bay lost, but they still continue to hold that 6th wild card spot because of your loss here.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge disappointment for the Redskins. And, I really kind of came into this game thinking, okay, the Panthers still have some great young defensive talent, but, Luke Kuechly's inactive. That still affects this team. I mean, he's a big leader on their defense. Cam Newton has not had the strongest year. This offense in general for the Carolina Panthers has not had that great of a year. And you've got a Redskins team that, let's be honest, has a lot of weapons and has a receiving core that really, honestly, before you came into this matchup, you thought they were just going to light that Panthers secondary on fire and the game was going to get out of hand. And then you see what the Panthers did, and they tightened down, and they were able to get pressure. And the fact that just really, let's be honest, the Redskins just did not look like they had their full muster about them. I don't want to say that it's almost like they had too long of a layoff or anything, but they did not look like they were as energetic as they should be. And so it's really hard to tell. But at the end of the day, Carolina got ahead early, and after they didn't really allow the Redskins to climb into this thing until we got closer to the end of the game. So to me, it's still a big surprise. And I don't take anything away from what the Panthers did. They did a good job, but still, I still feel like the Redskins are at this time a better team. But still, they just found a way to lose.
Yeah, the Redskins did their best Jets impression in prime time and just completely put up a flop. But I will say real quick, the Packers are the 6th seed at the moment, but both them and the Buccaneers.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Packers have the tiebreak.
Yeah, but still, I mean, both of them 8-6, half a game ahead of the Redskins. So it just makes it even worse that you have those two teams both playing extremely well now ahead of you in the standings. Here you were at home against a Panthers team that obviously have a disappointing season, and you have a great chance here to light them up a little bit, and they just could not do it. The offense was just never in sync. I mean, obviously you see Jordan Reed, who was completely frustrated the whole game, only had the one target for one catch, 6 yards, gets ejected in the third quarter because, it's so smart to throw a punch at a guy wearing a helmet. I still never understand that, but that gets him ejected from the game, and that's just where Washington was the whole game. I think their heads were elsewhere, and I don't know why or what was going on, but Carolina seemed like the more focused team. Jonathan Stewart was running angry, and they just were unable to stop him. And Carolina, I mean, if you just looked at it for this one game, Carolina looked like the team that was battling for the playoff hopes, even though their playoff hopes are they need, what did I hear? They need Green Bay to lose twice, they need Tampa Bay to lose twice, and they need Washington to tie again at some point. So it's a complete mess for Carolina, but they played like the team that was battling for a playoff spot, not Washington.
Yeah, I mean, and you're at home. You're at home too for Washington. I mean, you should have done better. I mean, look, it was a 13-9 game at halftime. Then Panthers blew it open in the third quarter, and they held Washington to freaking field goals. They couldn't capitalize, and this has been a problem for Kirk Cousins. Let me tell you, this has been a problem for them when they get close to where they need to actually score. They don't. That was a problem in the Cowboy game. That was a problem in previous games for them. Washington has to get better, not only in the red zone, but when you know you need to get that touchdown, and you don't. So I think for me, this is a thing you got to watch out now for Washington, because I mean, Green Bay is on the ascendance. The Vikings look terrible. Green Bay has the offense that can certainly do that to them again. The Giants have been playing really well, and they play a Thursday night game. That's going to be interesting. And Washington could already know going into that game against the Bears on Sunday, which that is
Saturday.
not a Saturday. It's not a given either, because Matt Barkley's been playing tremendous. That you're going to win that game. So, Washington's going to have to really kick it into gear here, and if your offense is going to have to be what leads you, because the defense is starting to fail you. Look, 315 yards is great, but you don't throw any touchdowns. So that's not good. So just want to state that. And you've got a Giants team that will be definitely fighting for a playoff spot at the end there.
But just to defend Kirk Cousins in this game, there were way too many drops, especially in the red zone. And again, the Jordan Reed ejection happens when they were at 1st and goal, drops them back in to 23, and just killed that drive. Yes, he needs to get better in the red zone, and the numbers dictate that. But watching that fourth quarter, and every time they looked like they were going to get back into this game, watching 3 different receivers just watch the ball bounce off their hands is a bit infuriating, I'm sure, for Cousins, who, once again, resets the Washington record for passing yards in a season, but just can't find the end zone in this game.
Yep. Jonathan Stewart over a 100-yard game, and Cam Newton finally looking like himself again. 2 touchdowns, 300 yards. So good for him. So moving on here, now we get to the rest of the slate that we may or may not sit here and go through in a huge detail, but let's get this going with your. I'm sorry, Randy, we're gonna have to do it. Your Jets were terrible, just terrible against the Miami Dolphins. Matt Moore throws 4 touchdowns. The hell, Matt Moore is throwing 4 touchdowns on you, Randy.
He didn't throw it on me. I wasn't there. I was cozy in my house.
on your Jets. I mean, like, what's going on here?
But they called Randy, but Randy said he was too busy.
But Powell looked
no
good
way.
at least. Okay.
Yeah. Listen, Powell looked good. Robbie Anderson looked good while Petty was out there, who still looks like a young quarterback before he turned into a sandwich. It's just, I don't know if you saw that play, but those are 2 men. I'm blanking on one, or Cameron Wake and Dominic Sue basically sandwiched Petty, and it does not look good, that play. We'll see his status for next week. But Matt Moore did what he needed to. 12 of 18, 4 touchdowns. There was a section in the third quarter where the Jets could do nothing right. They give a big touchdown pass to Stills. They get a punt blocked in return for a touchdown. And then the next drive for Miami, you have a big touchdown pass to Jarvis Landry, and that was the game, which, again, as a Jets fan, it's just so annoying to watch them on primetime throw such eggs here. But I thought the first half was entertaining, both teams trying hard, and then it just completely imploded and went from there. But Miami's better, and the Jets suck, and let's go to the other games, please.
I should also know, too, that Jordan Reed, man, you can't punt somebody. I'm sorry. You just can't. And you're hurting your team at that point. That's just really stupid. Mm-hmm. Look, I get it. You get heated. Things get said. Just, you are a total focal point of that team. You cannot get yourself ejected.
I mean, just think about it. Randy Orton can't do it. You can't either, Jordan Reed.
Right. What?
You can't punt somebody.
Oh, okay. Wait.
Randy Orton can't punt?
I said punch, not punt.
Oh, I thought you said punt. I thought maybe he kicked somebody. I didn't see the kick.
No,
okay.
He punched Coleman right in the head.
I mean, I saw that one. I thought you said a punt. I thought, man, he must have kicked someone too. I was like, dude, this guy's getting violent tonight. So anyway, he must not have this.
There's your
wrestling
wrestling reference for the podcast.
There you go. There you go. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I'm only speaking half English today. So.
Hey, so we said this was going to be close because it's the Packers and Bears, and they usually always play each other close. 30-27. Matt Barkley, 362 yards, 2 touchdowns. Ty Montgomery, wow, maybe he should have played running back the whole year. I don't know, but wow, that's all I'm going to say. The Packers win, and they continue to run the table. Pretty impressive.
All I want to say about this game, other than the fact that the Bears are a very impressive team, and I hope Barkley keeps the job because I want to see what they do next year, whether Alshon Jeffrey stays or not. But have defenses not learned? When there's under a minute to go, how in the hell do you not have a safety back? Because Aaron Rodgers is going to go deep. And you go corner defense with no safety help? Shame on Chicago. They deserve to lose that game, even though the offense did a wonderful job getting them back into it. Terrible defensive play call in that game.
Yeah, especially after the Bears had done so much to freaking get back in the game.
Yeah.
I do want to say, other than Matt Barkley's 3 interceptions, which obviously not good, but he's still a young quarterback.
One doesn't count. One was a halftime Hail Mary. That doesn't count.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Fine. Hey, Christian Michael finally got on the board. So, that's a plus, right? The Packers. One game too late, but he got on there.
Anytime you can get a running game in Green Bay, they're happy right now.
Exactly. And, Christian Michael, at least, did something good outside of Seahawks uniform, so that's positive.
I mean, considering how the Colts just absolutely blasted the Vikings, I mean, are you expecting the Packers to be doing the same thing here? Or should we be careful because it is a divisional opponent?
I think that's the key. You can't just say that, because another team does it means the other one will. I think that, the Vikings still have a good defense. I just think that, they lost their way. Somehow, some way. They found a way just that they couldn't get in sync. And that's the big thing here is, sure, I think Aaron Rodgers is going to come into the game feeling good about himself, feeling comfortable, and he'll probably have some success. But that Vikings defense is still nothing to mess with, even though they got destroyed over the weekend. I still am a believer.
Yeah, Colts have 22 of the first 25 plays. They just held on to the ball, kept the Vikings offense, which could do nothing anyways, off the field. But no, I'm with Gary. It's a divisional game next week. What happened this last Sunday means nothing. The Vikings are still going to want to spoil anything that the Packers have out there. So I still like the Packers in that game, but just because the Vikings got blown out doesn't mean anything.
I mean, Frank Gore did well in this game. Robert Turbin getting himself touchdowns. Who started Robert Turbin in their fantasy league?
Yeah, all fantasy fans around the world are going, what the hell in this game? I mean, you have Adrian Peterson coming back, but you didn't expect him to do too much. Fantasy-wise, I was between him and Kenneth Farrow. Which risky play do I want to start in the flex? I went with Peterson just because neither of them would have worked. But you look at this game, the Colts score 34 points. There's no Moncrief. Turbin scores 2 touchdowns. Eric Swoop scores a touchdown, and T.Y. Hilton gets 45 yards. Made 0 sense.
Eric Swoop, guys, you need to watch him for next year. Just saying. Yeah. I mean, just gotta love this. Sam Bradford did okay, actually. Just the thing is with Sam Bradford, he throws like 3 yards a pass. I mean, your stats are gonna look great when you throw 3 yards a pass.
Yeah, I know. Look at Dak Prescott.
What? Hold on now. That's just totally wrong.
Look at Jason Witten's.
I think Dak Prescott
Jason Witten's stats.
How many long throws has he thrown to people? I think Sam Bradford's thrown about like 2.
I'm just talking about. I'm talking about Sunday. I'm just talking about.
Hey,
Sunday.
you know what? It worked because Tampa Bay couldn't stop it. So that's what matters.
They
right?
play what the defense gives you.
But you can't say that. That's
no,
Bradford.
they did this because they have no freaking offense. I don't blame them.
I
They don't
agree.
have
Who said all season long that trade was the worst trade of all time?
Sam Bradford's not the reason the team's losing. I'm just saying you don't have a.
You just said he can't throw it down the field. You have Stephon Diggs who can go down the field. Cordell Patterson can go down the field.
They have no
Sam
running
Bradford
game.
can't do it.
They have no running game. The Cowboys have Ezekiel Elliott who just runs everywhere.
Yeah.
The Vikings don't. So this is what they have to do. I just don't think that Sam Bradford is the reason why they're doing this. I think at some point you had to have a game where the Vikings defense was going to not play great. It's going to happen. They can't play great every game. I don't know. That's just me.
I don't know. I think I'm on Randy's side here, though. I just don't like Sam Bradford. At first I used to support him. I was a big believer, but I kind of feel like Bradford is the reason for this season.
I don't think they would have done any better with Teddy Bridgewater. I'm just saying.
Whoa.
At this point.
Absolutely.
No, they wouldn't have. Because last year they had Peterson running much better than they did this year. He wasn't even in here for most of the damn season.
Yeah, but Bridgewater can create plays himself. Bradford can't.
Yeah, but that offensive line's so bad, I don't know how much it would have helped him. You know, that's another thing, too. That offensive line is bad.
No, absolutely. The offensive line's garbage. But that's my whole point. It's obviously they went all in with it, and they made that trade before Adrian Peterson got hurt. I get it. But they gave up too much for a quarterback that is not good enough to win you games. He's an okay quarterback. He's not somebody that's going to do anything special. And now you have Bradford, and you have nothing available to help you fix the holes that you have on your team. So you went all in on this season. It failed, and now you're going to suck for the next 5 years because of this trade.
Very true. Somehow the Vikings can and probably will get up for that game, knowing that they can really put a dent in the Packers. They can put a nice little dent in the Packers' playoff hopes too, if they're
absolutely
able to beat them. So that's going to be a thing for them to be up for next week. Speaking of the other team in that division, they lose to the New York Giants. They couldn't make that fourth quarter comeback. In fact, the Giants are the only people that score in the fourth quarter with, I think it's that touchdown to Odell Beckham. So
gross.
Wait. Well, why?
He doesn't. I forget what I was listening to. Whether it was, I think it was Mike and Mike in the morning, where they just said, "Should we just make it more fair and cut off one of his hands?" He doesn't need both. Odell Beckham Jr. is ridiculous. He's completely ridiculous.
Hey, such great talent.
Absolutely. I mean, it doesn't matter. He could go out there and have a stinker of a game, and then in one play, be perfect.
He did that against the Cowboys. That's what he did.
And he had a return touchdown, too, that gets called back on a block in the back that was well out of the play, or it would have been even worse. But honestly, as great as Odell Beckham's hands are, the hand that we need to be talking about is Matthew Stafford's. And obviously, his injury to his hand is affecting him more than he's ever going to give us. And I'm worried about the Lions right now, because I honestly think Stafford's hand is a lot more injured. He looked a little rough in this game. Yes, the Giants' defense is also great, but they could just not get anything going. And honestly, I think it's a lot to do with that, especially when you have no running game there in Detroit either.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest key here. It would be like if, you went down to New Orleans and told Drew Brees, hey, you play with one arm tied behind your back and see how that offense runs. It's not going to work. And so I just kind of wonder, really, I mean, is this a smart decision of, you got to play your best guys? I get it, but with Matthew Stafford, playing with a finger that's obviously affecting his game, is he really going to help you get to what you want to be?
I know, but I think
I don't know.
The middle finger you don't really use it that much when you're throwing. I think it's more the fact that him having to wear the glove and he's not used to wearing it.
Yeah.
And it's cold, and when you wear a glove and it's cold, what happens to your hand? It's going to be even more cold than, it's going to be stuck where you don't have the maneuverability that you have when your fingers are okay and all that stuff. It's not comfortable for him.
Yeah.
So.
Well, even without the glove, I mean, I get it, and I've heard quarterbacks all this week talk about the injury and saying, well, your middle finger is the same excuse, but it's still, you have the grip of the ball, and the way you're used to being able to throw the ball, it affects you to an extent. Maybe not majorly, but it's in the back of your mind when you get hit in the hand, when you fall down, you're thinking about it. And so, I mean, that's a problem. It's a mental game as much as it is a physical game. And I look at that as being an issue. And I don't know. I think this could be some bad times for the Lions at the wrong time.
Yeah, I mean, and you also run into a really good defense of the Giants. Golden Tate still did really well for himself. But, you don't have a running game, which makes it difficult for everything's on Stafford. And when you're injured, like Randy said, it puts more of a freaking bullseye on you that, hey, if he's not performing well, your team is going to have problems. And, you're running into two teams that, they don't have the defense I'd say that the Giants do, but they have offenses that can completely outscore you and put you in a problem where Matthew Stafford doesn't keep up with those points. You're going to be out.
Mm-hmm. And to be fair, too, Detroit's defense really let them down in the fact that they should have had some interceptions. Eli gifted them a few, and they just said, no, thank you. Well, yeah, exactly. But that also, it also brings up the question of, man, I mean, you look at the people saying how the Giants are, this just solid team, and the only team in the world that could win every game is probably the Giants right now. And I'm like, well, I mean, you play the team that actually can catch those interceptions, maybe not. And it's like it's getting ignored,
Well, no, I think people that are ignoring it are stupid. Like, obviously, their offense is not – it's okay, does Odell Beckham score something? All right, because that's basically what they're going to be able to do. It's Eli – hope to God Eli doesn't throw an interception, and let's find Odell Beckham, and then the defense is going to carry us the rest of the way. Now, that defense is really good and has enough to be able to do it. But like you said, it's if you run into that defense that understands that Eli is going to give you some, and you take those opportunities and run with them, I don't know that, the Giants are going to last that long. Let's see what happens, because, hey, look, this is still the regular season. We have seen Eli sometimes step it up in the playoffs, and he's a completely different guy. So, Giants are also 7-1 at home for just to bring that out. The Giants have played really well at home this season. So, speaking of the other team, the Eagles, 1 point loss to the Ravens in a game the Ravens really had to have because, again, they have to keep pace with the Steelers, who they didn't know at that point that the Steelers were going to win, but they probably had an idea that the Steelers were going to win. So, another one of these crazy games, the NFL, but almost it kind of feels sad for the Eagles a bit, just because they actually played pretty well, and then they just don't have enough at the end.
Yeah, and that's the way it kind of worked out for the Eagles against the Redskins the previous week too, because the Eagles were doing great, and then they just slowly just kind of fell away from them. And I still think that the Eagles have a lot of talented players, not an awful team. They got some injuries at the wrong times. They also just found themselves, learning that they had a rookie quarterback. At the beginning of the season, they didn't understand that because Carson Wentz was so effective and not turning the ball over. And then, he hit the point where, hey, he's human. He's a rookie, and people are understanding who he is, just like every other rookie in this league, even, including Dak Prescott, who good defenses kind of learned him and figured out what they could do to really mess him up, and they made him stumble. And so Carson Wentz just hit that kind of struggle. So I think, honestly, if you ask me, it's very impressive that, the Eagles were in this the entire game, because I really respect that Baltimore defense.
Yeah, and it made no sense.
The thing is, too, though, guys, Peterson has made some, Doug Peterson has made some weird coaching decisions throughout this year. And knowing that your team has done all this to come back, Carson Wentz isn't having the greatest game in the world. I get it. You just want to see if you can get lucky on this one play and you get the 2-point conversion and you win. But, shouldn't you, knowing how this team has been and that they really could use a win, do everything you can to extend it?
No, that play call to me was, listen, we're out of it. Let's just try to win it now because we don't need overtime. I think, honestly, if their records were reversed and they were playing for the division, they're kicking the extra point because strategy-wise, you look at your team, you're playing a good defense. Carson Wentz has been struggling but is getting the job done enough. Ryan Matthews has been carrying your team. You're kicking that extra point, going to overtime, and letting Ryan Matthews and your defense, which had been playing really well in the second half, carry you to a victory in overtime. But here you are at 5-8, just wanting to get that signature win, that really cool, I believe in my guy's 2-point conversion to win it. If we don't get it, oh well, because it wasn't like we're going to make the playoffs anyways. So it was a call of a coach that, was just trying to get that big play win instead of the smart move.
What do you think, Gary?
No, I kind of agree with that because of the fact that, you just do these type of things and see how your team can do at this point because, this is really kind of the start in the preseason for you in a way. They understand they're out of it. They kind of get that, and I think he said, let's just try to win the game. Does it really serve us any good to go into overtime and to play a long period of time? No, let's just see what we can do. Maybe it may not be the right call for some, but, that was for his, sake, the right call.
I know you were saying something beforehand, Randy, before I cut you off on accident.
No, that was exactly where I was going, was a 2-point conversion. So we were thinking the same thing.
You were speaking of teams that are winning and beating teams they probably shouldn't. The Tennessee Titans win this game in Arrowhead. That's pretty amazing to say. Marcus Mariota does throw an interception, but other than that, he was pretty good in this game. DeMarco Murray doesn't get 100 yards, but he gets close enough. And you get a game-winning field goal against a former Chiefs kicker, right? I think Suckup used to kick for the Chiefs, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know. I really like this for the Titans, honestly, because look, the Colts put up some points, and Andrew Luck is a great quarterback and all that stuff, but I really kind of want to see the Titans get to the playoffs and see what they do. I think they could be really interesting. So, personally, for me, on a personal bias, I really kind of want to see the Titans win this division. But, I give them a lot of credit here. The fourth quarter was all Tennessee Titans. And, Derrick Henry was really the star of the show here. He got both the touchdowns. But
yeah, but you could have ran through both of the holes that he had.
Yeah, the Chiefs win last week. They don't win this week. That's I don't know. This is a game you really should have won.
Yeah, the coaching decisions of this game just baffled me. Another 2-point conversion at the end to try to just win the game by the Titans. This one I liked a bit more, even though you had all the momentum. Why not take that momentum into overtime? But because it was an Arrowhead, I don't think you want to play an overtime game in that kind of a situation. And maybe they were worried about their kicker with how cold it was there and how tough it was able to kick that ball. So they go for 2, they don't get it. They do a great job on defense, not allowing a first down. They get the ball back, make a couple great plays with Mariota to get in the field goal position. And then Andy Reid does the dumbest thing I've ever seen, and another coaching deal that I just can't stand. I forget the distance of the kick now. 53, 52 yards? It was long, to the point that Suckup misses his first attempt off the crossbar, but Andy Reid decides, let's ice him from a distance that the kicker even said pregame was 6 yards longer than he felt comfortable with all game long, just because of how cold it was, and gave him a second shot, and he makes the second shot to win the game. Don't ice a kicker when he is so far back like that. Why give him an extra shot? I've never understood that. If you want to try to make him nervous from 30 yards, great. If they're 50 yards plus, just let him go. Don't let him get a practice shot in. It makes no sense. I think Andy Reid made the dumbest coaching decision of the week.
Wow. That could be. Oh, man. Overall, you got to say that you're impressed with the Titans. They were the underdogs coming into this game. I really respect this team. They're young. They've built their team kind of like you can almost call them the AFC version of the Dallas Cowboys, because they love to run the ball. They got a quarterback that's young, who's talented, and really, honestly, is very impressive when it comes to game management at times. So I look at this and say, this is not out of the realm of possibility. Did I pick Titans to win? No, because I really felt like Kansas City was still the better team. But at the end of the day, you got to give props to the Titans. They pulled it off and did a good job.
Yeah, Titans win this one. They're now 8-6, and they're fighting off Houston for that division. I think they play. Do they play the Texans next week? Is that? Hold on, why am I not getting there?
No, the Titans get the Jaguars, then the Texans.
Oh well, see, nice little schedule there for the Titans now. So I'm guessing the Houston plays the Colts next week, right? I don't know why I should already have this.
They play the Bengals and then the Titans.
Okay, yeah, Texans play, the Bengals, okay. And
the Colts get the Raiders and the Jaguars, just so you know.
Damn. Sucks for the Colts. It should be an interesting game, though. I think we kind of hit a lot of the important... the last kind of important one before we get to the last couple that sort of mattered in a way. Steelers win. It wasn't, this totally... it was close for a large part of it, as you expect this game to be. The Steelers, again, doing their let's go for 2 constantly thing. Both of them fail. At some point, you have to wonder if you're just going to not do that. I don't know. It already cost you a game once. Do you really want to keep doing that constantly throughout the season? I don't know. But, yeah, I mean... This was a Bengals and Steelers game, but the Steelers the last back half was all Pittsburgh. After the Bengals had taken a lead.
The Bengals absolutely blew this game. Mm-hmm. They dominated the first half. They were stopping to Pittsburgh to field goals. 6 field goals by Boswell in this game. And then the second half reminded you of the playoff game last year. I'm sitting here, Mike was in town, so we're watching games together, and of course he's a Steelers fan, so we're bouncing between that game and the Packers and a few others that are close. And there was a sequence where I swear the Bengals had 4 straight penalties on 4 straight plays. And most of them were bonehead. It absolutely made no sense. And it just, they threw this game away. I picked the Bengals to win this game because of the rivalry, because they would love nothing more than to screw up the playoff chances of the Steelers. And they did for the first half. And then just completely threw it away. And give credit to the Steelers, who struggled to get into the end zone all game long. The 1 touchdown pass to Eli Rogers. But just, the Bengals are so frustrating this year.
Very much so. And, I picked the Steelers here because I felt like that they were going to be able to find a way to eke it out. And that's exactly what they did. And, looking at this, I think that, you just can't trust the Bengals. You're right. They're a team that, they'll have some great moments and then they'll just flip that coin anytime. And they'll play undisciplined. They'll make mistakes. And you're thinking to yourself, okay, you were just excellent 2 plays ago. Where was that guy? And so the whole entire team is played that way. So, I kind of understood why this all happened to him. And it sucks, but, unless your team can stay disciplined, it's going to happen.
Yeah, so now we're in a situation where Christmas night, or Christmas afternoon, basically the division will be won or lost based on who wins. If the Steelers win, they win the division. If the Ravens win, they get the tiebreaker over the Steelers, so they would be in first place. And then they would come down to what happens in Week 17. So, huge game on Christmas night. Also a bigger game, too, because of the fact that the Broncos lost and the Chiefs lost on Christmas night between the Broncos and Chiefs. As the Broncos lost to the Patriots 16-3. Trevor Siemian had a decent game, I'd say. Coming back, almost 300 yards. He did throw the interception. The Patriots, won't, they didn't have their tremendous big-time game here. But, the Broncos just couldn't get on the board either. So.
Look, the Patriots, you don't want to say it, but the Patriots are the Patriots, and they figure out teams, and they do it just enough to come in and win, and that's the way they play their game, and that's who they're all about. And, this one felt the same way. They were able to take advantage of whatever the Broncos allowed them to take advantage of. And, this Patriots defense, it may not be, an all-star power defense, but it's a defense that's smart, plays Belichick ball, and it doesn't give up big plays. And so that's exactly the way they got this thing done. And, Siemian struggled this year, and, he had a decent game, but not anything that was going to be able to help the Broncos be really successful. And being good is fine, but you need to be great, especially against teams that have tons of experience. So it's kind of understandable. I mean, this Patriots team, it just finds ways to win.
Now listen, when you're the Broncos...
Hold on, what does it say about Devontae Booker that frickin' Justin Forsett is the guy that they're putting in front of you? I mean,
I love that twice this podcast you've interrupted me with exactly what I was going to say. But Justin Forsett's been on like 9 teams this season, and here he is. There's no running game in Denver, and when you have a young quarterback like Siemian, you can't throw him to the wolves like that. And that's where their downfall is, and they're not going to make the playoffs because of it. Their defense is still good. I mean, they frustrated Tom Brady, especially early on in this game, before they were able to kind of find holes here and there. Deion Lewis kind of was the main weapon for the Patriots, but when you're one-dimensional against Bill Belichick, you're screwed. And Devontae Booker has been a complete disappointment, and it says something when your main running back is Justin Forsett right now.
Yep. Very true. I mean, look, the Broncos defense can be as good as it is, but the reason why the Broncos were so good last year is because they had C.J. Anderson, Ronnie Hillman, and everybody running the ball. It took a lot of pressure off of Peyton Manning, off of Brock Osweiler, and you're just not giving that to Trevor Siemian. He's doing well for himself, but he can't do everything. And it's just total pity. The Broncos should be much better than they are, but they can't because the running game is just not there this year. Anything, no. Randy? Or Gary, sorry.
I know, I was just agreeing with you. You're right. And, overall, I mean, even this Broncos defense, as good as they are, which they're good, but they're not as great as they were last year. But they can't save everything for this offense now, and this offense is playing at a level that's just not good enough. And that is just, where they're at. I mean, they can't really get over that hump. They just don't have the talent that they need to progress and to be better. So they get kind of exposed when they play against playoff type caliber teams at times, and this is exactly what happened.
Well, thanks to all these losses, the Oakland Raiders have clinched a playoff berth for the first time in a really long time, defeating the Chargers by 3 points thanks to an interception at the end. Just once again, the Raiders is finding ways to win and away from home, and the Chargers finding ways to lose games. Just the story of each one of these teams' seasons, honestly.
Yeah, and another quarterback that you worry about is hand. I mean, a little bit less severe with David Carr, but I felt like he wasn't as crisp with his throws as he's been. I watched a bit of this game too, and the broadcast team did a great job saying that, in their pre-game meetings and stuff where they meet with all the players, he made sure to shake their hands to show, like, I'm not worried about my finger, and then took probably almost every snap from the shotgun because he was worried about his finger. So another one of those things to keep your eye on as far as the playoffs go. Obviously, Oakland would love to win the division and get the bye to let him rest, but I don't think they were as crisp as they were. I mean, partially because the Chargers continue to play teams extremely tough but find ways to lose. But the Raiders, to me, continue to just impress with the way that they're able to find ways to win in just all facets. They do have a running game. They do have a good passing game, and their defense is great. I mean, they're one of the more complete teams in the NFL in a season where you can't say that about too many teams this year.
Gary?
Yeah, I totally agree. This all boils down to the fact that, the Chargers have, had some success. And, what was that success really relied on? It was relied on the fact that Melvin Gordon was helping them a lot. They were actually getting a running game that they hadn't had in a long time, and it was making them more balanced in this game without a guy like Melvin Gordon. And, even though they kept it close, they just couldn't play the football game the way they needed to and keep in control. And all credit goes to the Oakland Raiders who, despite some of the things that were going on with them, including Derek Carr's injury and all, they found a way to win the game, and the Chargers found a way to lose it. So that's the way it kind of boiled down. And to me, once again, it was almost predictable because that's the way these things work, almost, I would say, a majority of the time. And, until the culture changes in San Diego, I mean, I think that's the way they kind of have to deal with things right now.
Yeah, you're totally right about that. It's going to be sad if San Diego does leave and go to LA, and then this is kind of the season you have to show for it, honestly. But we will certainly see how that goes. Continuing on, there are some teams here that are certainly in playoff contention, but they're playing teams that they're not going to lose to, like the Atlanta Falcons, who absolutely blew out the 49ers 41-13. The Saints and Cardinals had a freaking big game going points for points here, but the Saints win away from home 48-41, and and you also had the Buffalo Bills blowing out the Cleveland Browns to take them to 0-14 after LaShawn McCoy gets 153 yards and 2 touchdowns. Anything you kind of want to say about these 3 games here?
I'll just say this. If Atlanta wins their division, they are my number 1 pick for the division winner that loses in the wild card game.
Why do you say that?
Because they're all offense. They have no defense. Yes, their defense has played well the last 2 weeks, but it's the Rams and the 49ers. And once you get into January, everything changes. And the way things are looking right now, Atlanta would play either the Giants, the Packers, or the Buccaneers. And all 3 of those teams, I think, are more complete than Atlanta. I think best case scenario for Atlanta would be the Giants, because at that point, you are hoping for Eli to make those mistakes, and you hope that you're putting up enough points to then force the Giants to have to make more plays than what they've been able to make. But that defense could really cause you havoc. So I just don't see it with Atlanta right now. I know it's been really fun to watch, especially as Devontae Freeman fantasy owner last Sunday. But to me, the last 2 weeks have just made them more fraudulent than anything else.
Yeah, and they're currently right now, because of the records, they're battling with the Lions for that other bye spot. So, this is a big deal right now. I mean, I think the Giants technically can't get it because of the fact that the Cowboys are in that spot right there. But, like you said, you're really only hoping for the Giants because of Eli being a quarterback. But, man, this is kind of weird considering you bring in Dan Quinn. He's supposed to be this defensive genius, and you still can't get the defense right.
Yeah, exactly. You're right. And that's what's kind of funny about the whole thing, because you would think that a defensive-minded coach, kind of like what you saw with Jeff Fisher, would have the defense rolling along with, smooth precision, and the offense would struggle. But it's just complete opposite. And I get it. I mean, they haven't been able to acquire the players that they needed to acquire to fit Mike Smith's system. But, I've seen some coaches play with less. And so...
Yeah, and to Quinn's credit, this is only his 2nd year there, and he is definitely making leaps and bounds, but they still have steps to go. And I think I've been waiting for them to fall off, because that's just what Atlanta likes to do. But obviously their schedule opened up nicely for them. But to me, as far as complete teams, I just don't see it with Atlanta right now.
So... how worried are you about Julio Jones' turf toe? I mean, because obviously he's going to have to be healthy in the playoffs, or that's going to be a problem.
And he was really close to coming back this week, but obviously you don't need him against the 49ers. Honestly, I mean, they got to see what kind of happens the rest of the week. I can't remember if they play before or after Tampa Bay. But honestly, if you clinch a division, you're not going to get one of those bye weeks. I don't think Seattle is going to drop another game. So at that point, why not rest him for the wild card game, and then you can go from there. They play at the same time, I believe, as Tampa Bay, or I guess as an early game. So they can't wait to see what happens there. But they don't really need him right now. I think why not let him rest up for the playoffs?
I wouldn't say that that's true. Arizona plays Seattle tough every damn game. I know last year Arizona was in this spot, and they just didn't give a crap, and that's why Seattle just absolutely blew them out. But, we saw earlier in the season, this is why both teams have a tie. We could definitely get one of those games again, and it goes either way, and Seattle, there they are at 9-5. Just making that point. I know Seattle would technically have the tiebreaker on Atlanta because they beat them.
Well, I don't see that. I don't see them tying with the tie on Seattle's record, but
Yeah. Oh, well, that's true. Yeah.
but no, I get your point. Arizona definitely plays them tough, and there's no guaranteed wins unless you're playing the 49ers or the Browns, but I just don't see it. Yeah, that's true.
But I mean, yeah, this is going to be an interesting race between those three teams, 4 teams. If say the Cowboys were to falter or whatever, putting the Giants back in it. But I think this is I like it when it's this way. You have teams that are in contention instead of, okay, well, we know where all the spots are. We're just kind of waiting for the last 2 teams or whatever. It's much more interesting this way. Whereas, and same thing with the AFC, a little bit more clear, but maybe not so much so. You've got Miami and Pittsburgh kind of fighting it out. Kansas City, if they were to lose again, they drop in Miami into getting that 5th spot. So Baltimore could possibly get themselves in their Titans as well. Could be getting there for the wild card even if they don't were somehow not able to get through Houston. So interesting times these last 2 weeks, certainly. Lastly, Buffalo Bills. Dolphins, obviously a playoff. They're in contention for a playoff spot. Let's say the Bills win that game. Does it matter at all if you're Buffalo? Are you even thinking about keeping Rex Ryan at this point? Or is he just playing out these games?
I'm still trying to figure out what Rex Ryan did.
That's a good question.
Where he's 7-7, and we're talking about he's done.
Well, I mean, okay. For one, you have a starting quarter. Hold on, you have a starting quarterback who's sitting there every week now. Oh, I don't know if he's gonna be a starter. Like, you're the coach.
Because he shouldn't be.
No, but you're the coach. You should know whether he's a starter or not.
But that's his problem. He has no. Who's he going to start? He's basically going, well, Tyrod Taylor is not starting quarterback position, or credible, but I have no one. If I had a starting quarterback, I would be in the playoffs right now.
But he wanted Tyrod Taylor
until he got him. Houston wanted Osweiler.
Right, but at some point you fall for your decision of wanting the guy, right?
But he's still got him at 7-7. That's the whole thing. It's like he's realized these last few games that I butchered him at the beginning of the year when the Jets put up 37 against him, and he fired his offensive coordinator because his defense sucked. But it worked. His defense has been playing a lot better, and they're running the ball. The problem is Sammy Watkins was out for a while. The moment he came back, Robert Woods got hurt. So that passing game never got going. On top of Tyrod Taylor, I don't think is a good starting quarterback. But you look at their schedule, and ever since they fired the offensive coordinator, their only loss were at Miami, who's a playoff contender. They lost to the Patriots, of course. They lost at Seattle, of course. They lost at Oakland, of course. And they lost to Pittsburgh, who's a playoff contender.
Of course. Raiders have been playing terrible in Oakland.
But still, they are a huge division winner. So basically what we're saying is they've lost to teams that are in the playoffs or right on that cusp. But they haven't went out and
shouldn't you be believing that you should be in the playoffs?
When did anyone ever say Buffalo was going to make the playoffs? No, this
is what this ownership said to Rex Ryan. You better get in the playoffs next year. And he didn't.
Then they just hate Rex Ryan because the Buffalo's not good enough with Tyrod Taylor to make the playoffs. I don't care who his coach is.
Well, but you're giving Tyrod Taylor an extension. You better believe he's the guy that gets you to the playoffs, right? I mean, if you're not, then don't give him the extension.
Then that's not Rex Ryan's fault. Rex Ryan's not giving out extensions.
Well, but he has a factor in the decision, right? He's the guy telling him,
No, not at all. Absolutely, we just learned this from Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien said he met Osweiler for 7 seconds.
Before they. You know what? bullshit, because Brock, I don't care if he met Osweiler for 7 seconds. You're in a conference going, I've watched every play. He's definitely the guy. Like, who says that? And you really didn't do it. Come on.
But you never. That's the whole point. It's the grass is always greener, right? He's over there in Denver with that system and making that work. Oh, I want that guy. And then you finally get him in person and go, oh, I don't really want that guy. That's what Rex Ryan's doing with Tyrod Taylor right now. But he doesn't have anybody behind him to bench.
But he watched Tyrod Taylor last year. So it's not like Tyrod's looking from a different team.
Who was out there to get? There's no quarterback so out to get.
I'm just saying.
Unless he went out and got Dak Prescott, I guess, in the draft. But
no, I'm just saying, like, this is a guy that he watched play last year, and he goes, okay, we're going to keep him. He's the guy. All right. And then, okay, well, your team performed poorly. You just made excuses for them or for him because, let's be honest, that team was totally different last year with Sammy Watkins out there where he could just throw the ball to him. And then you do run the ball with Carlos Williams and LaShawn McCoy. And you had the defense playing better. And you had other receivers there that he could throw to. Chris Hogan was actually a very important part of that offense, and they let him go. And, you know, that's not Rex Ryan's decision either. But at the end of the day, you can't sit there and go, okay, well, if you're going to make excuses for Rex Ryan as far as the injuries go, then you got to make excuses for Tyrod Taylor too. That's not fair. Right? I mean, this is the quarterback. He needs weapons.
Yeah. I mean, of course, you do need weapons. And I think that, you know, Tyrod has a ceiling. I don't know if we've seen it quite yet, but, I mean, I think for what he can do is he can only do so much, and he needs bigger, better weapons. I mean, Sammy Watkins and him, they connect, but it's not all the time. And Watkins is still, I think, injured to an extent. So, I mean, you got to find those guys that are key receivers that can help a quarterback, a key running back that can help block, but not only that, take pressure off the quarterback, and you know, they kind of help each other.
I think this comes down to apparently him and the GM don't like each other, and they haven't liked each other for a while. You know,
then fire him. These last 2 games should not make your decision. If you don't like each other, get rid of them.
Wow. I mean, shouldn't you get rid of the GM then?
Depends on who the owner likes more. But listen, if Buffalo goes out there and wins the next 2 games, is the GM all of a sudden going to like Rex Ryan? No. I mean, his decision
but this is what
is already
last
made.
Year, right? He won a bunch of games, and that's why they kept him.
Yeah, and here you are in the same situation where he's doing decently. He's putting themselves. They're just outside of the playoff race. They're probably not going to make the playoffs this year. I'm not going to say that, but you know, they've put them in the conversation. They haven't imploded. They've had a lot of injuries, yet they're right there. And every single game is, oh, Rex Ryan's on the hot seat. Then just get rid of him.
I mean, they would need a bunch of teams to lose, but technically they're still...
Yeah, no, that's what I'm saying. But to put them, they're still in the hunt, right, which is better than a lot of teams, including mine.
Yeah. I mean, the Ravens, Titans, Broncos would have to lose again just to put them in the conversation. And the Dolphins would have to lose out, too. So, they can hand the Dolphins one of the losses right here. And then the Patriots could very well hand them the second loss. So, hey, you never know. You never know. Well, crazier things have happened. I just don't. It's probably not going to happen, but we'll see. Finally, the Dallas Cowboys wind up getting through this this muck and mire of, well, do you play Tony Romo? Do you not? Dak Prescott goes out, plays pretty well. Ezekiel Elliott goes out, has a much better game than the previous week. The defense plays a lot better. The Bucs actually had a really good shot various times at possibly winning this game as well, so it's not like, the Cowboys just totally blew them out or nothing either. Just you go home and you take care of business.
Yeah, and Dallas had an opportunity here, and that is to run the ball against a defensive line that was really good, and then they met up with the Cowboys' offensive line and found out that they're really not as big. Not that they're not good in defensive line, but they're just not as big as that offensive line. And the Cowboys took advantage of that, and the Cowboys were able to get Dak comfortable, able to get Zeke in a rhythm and things like that. So this game, for the most part, could have got out of hand, but the Bucs found a way to keep it under control for a majority of the game until they got on a really good hot streak themselves, and then the next thing you know, the Cowboys come back and find a way to win. And you look at this and you look at the entire game overall, and the Cowboys had opportunities, and the Bucs did too. And so you can't take anything away from them. It's funny to me to listen to this game and listen to people talk, before the game, before pregame.
Humphreys did have. We got to remember that touchdown that Humphreys got was very close, also being an interception.
It was, yeah, and things like that took place, and so I know a lot of analysts came out and said before this game, well, Tampa's going to win because Tampa's a playoff team. Cowboys they found their way to get to that rookie wall, and then you had the other one saying the opposite. But at the end of the day, it's kind of funny. After the Cowboys beat Tampa, all of a sudden Tampa's no good. Tampa's just not that great of a team. Beforehand, they were a great team, and they were going to go and run the table. So it's kind of funny the way people view these teams. But I think Tampa's still a really good team. Sure, they lost against Dallas, but Dallas was able to exploit them at times. And
Jameis Winston throwing interception doesn't help either.
Well, that Cowboys pass rush found a way to come alive, even though they've been dead all year.
My God, David Irving was eating that right tackle alive.
Yeah, and that's something Dallas has not taken advantage of all year. And look at the New York Giants; their offensive line is not good. Trust me, that is not a good offensive line. And Dallas made them look like that. They were really great. And so, for the first time in a long time, the Dallas took advantage. Their defensive line overcame a bad offensive line at times. And so I don't know. I look at this game as very interesting because it was still a close game, like I think a lot of people did predict. But at the same time, Dallas did not look like they were out of their realm of winning. They still looked like they were going to be able to find a way to win the entire game.
Are you worried about Dan Bailey at all?
No, I don't understand this whole
50-yard field goals.
No, 50-yard field goal. My God,
he used to be automatic from there. And then all of a sudden now he can't hit one.
Dan Bailey has had bad games in the past, and no one really worried too much, but that was also because the Cowboys weren't, going to the playoffs, and so I think now that they're going to the playoffs, they're starting to kind of nitpick a little bit. Dan Bailey's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with him.
Anything you want to say, Randy?
It's always fun that there always has to be something with Dallas. They lose one game, Prescott needs to be benched. They win this game. Oh, Bailey was missing 50-yarders. I just can't believe it. Everything's falling apart. Oh, look at us with our 12 wins. It just take 4 years to get to that total. It's just, you guys. No, all right, but seriously, this game was fun to watch. And I really thought it was going to be a close game, and the first half was disappointing as it looked like Dallas was going to pull away. And I liked how Tampa Bay was able to get back into it and show their resolve. And I still believe that if this was played in Tampa Bay, maybe the result's different. Dallas had a few chances of losing this game, but they find ways to win, and full credit to them. But as far as what Gary said about how some people are saying, well, now Tampa Bay's terrible, I would rather play Atlanta than Tampa Bay in the playoffs. That's for sure. Just the way the Tampa Bay's defense has been playing. Yes, Ezekiel Elliott just ran all over them in this game, but that's what he's been doing to every team this season for the most part. This was a nice playoff preview to me, and it showed as both teams played extremely hard. Dak Prescott went out there to show that he can go out and just manage a game, and I'm not saying that as a bad thing. He did what he needed to. When you go 32 of 36 for 279, that's a one hell of a game. I joked on the fantasy podcast that somebody told told him before the game that if he threw 5 incompletions, they were going to put Romo in.
Yeah.
And that's how he played. I mean, Jason Witten gets 10 catches, only goes 51 yards. I love the Fantasy Focus stat that they had today where he had the least amount of fantasy points in the modern era for somebody that had 10 catches because he added a fumble to that. So he had 10 catches for 3.1 fantasy points. But that's all you needed was dink and dunk your way through, have Ezekiel Elliott run the ball, maintain the clock, and do what you needed to do. And that's what the Cowboys do. They find ways to win when things aren't going exactly their way. And that's why I just laughed when people went, "Oh no, they lost the game. What would we have won that with Romo?" Who knows? Who cares? You've moved on. All of the Cowboys fans for weeks when I came on this podcast and went, when Romo comes back, it should be his job. You should not lose your job to injury. No, this is Prescott's team. It is Dak time. They lost the game. Oh no, where's Romo? We need Romo. No, it's just. I mean, not saying you guys did because you guys have stuck to the Prescott bandwagon, and more power to you because this kid's going to be great. And whether you win the Super Bowl or even make it to the Super Bowl or lose your first round playoff, this has been one hell of a season for these rookies in this offensive line, and it's only going to get better. But it's Dallas, and it's the love 'em or hate 'em kind of team. And as I've joked about, I have to hate them now because they're on prime time every single week. But they are the most complete team in the NFL, and I don't think anyone out there can question it. And that's why right now we're complaining that a kicker is missing 50-yard field goals.
The Patriots are a little bit more complete, just because they have that whole host of receivers that the Cowboys necessarily don't have. And, I mean, let's be honest, I think we'd all much rather have Tom Brady as the quarterback going to the Super Bowl than, Dak, who at times does show rookie stuff. I mean, obviously, you want your experienced quarterback that's been there a million times. But, I mean, I think in the way, definitely in the NFC, there's a reason why you're 12-2, right?
Yeah.
And I think for me, what's important here is that the defense is peaking at the right time. You can say what you want about the offense, and these better defensive teams are keeping them down. Well, guess what? Why they're staying in these games? Because the defense is holding them in there, and they don't have these great names. Aside from Sean Lee, you don't have like these names that just stand out all over the place. They have just guys that are just coming together as a team and say, okay, you're not going to get more than this many yards, this many points, and that's what we're going to do. And that's great for them.
And it's interesting too because of the fact that people were talking about the Cowboys defense stepping up, but they were without their best pass rusher, DeMarcus Lawrence. They also were without one of their big defensive tackles. They were losing on their defensive line. That's people call subpar, their best talents, and then they come out and do what they did against Winston. But they are adding some of their depth back. Mo Claiborne comes back, and of course we'll have. It's crazy to say this, but Randy Gregory, J.J. Wilcox comes back, and you could have Randy Gregory back on this team.
I personally would have just sat Randy Gregory for the year.
No, I'm just saying they probably won't because they need the help, but. At the end of the day, this is interesting because the defense could be getting better. I don't know if they will, but there's always that possibility the Dallas defense actually starts to step up their game. I don't know if that happens, but overall, it's a very interesting team. I think we'll find a lot of answers.
Let's get into this because both Odell Beckham and Le'Veon Bell complained that Ezekiel Elliott did not get fined for the leap into the Salvation Army kettle. Now, I want to preface this by saying that after that, there have been thousands and thousands of dollars given to the Salvation Army because of that one leap by Ezekiel Elliott. So I don't know if that was a factor or not, but I just wanted to put that out there. I got an alert today, and I don't remember how much the amount was, but it was a ridiculous amount of money. Yeah. I know it's that whole conversation about, well, is it a prop? It was on the field. Is it considered a prop? You know, I don't know. This is so stupid. They really shouldn't have this rule anyway. We should just let them have celebrations, for God's sakes. Who cares?
Yes, absolutely let them have celebrations. As far as is it a prop? Kinda. To me, it's a more fun version of the Lambeau Leap, to be honest. I had no problem with it, but yes, I think Antonio Brown and Odell Beckham have, their right to complain because they get fined every time they celebrate. Elliott finds a goofy way to do it instead of, crazy dance routines and doesn't get fined. But I think the NFL missed a huge opportunity because Elliott came out and said, he would match whatever fine and donate it to the Salvation Army. So the NFL went, no, we don't want to give anything to the Salvation Army, so we won't fine you. No. Fine him and let him donate to the Salvation Army. They missed a
already had a ton
thing.
of people do it anyway.
No, but that would be them going, well, we weren't going to fine you, but you know what? We're going to... Here you go.
Well, it's Ezekiel Elliott's credit. He did give $21,000 to the Salvation Army after this, so at least they did donate, even though the NFL decided not to fine him themselves. This is interesting. I think we're all in agreement. The celebration thing, I think, is fine. I understand not wanting an entire team to be on the, in the end zone dancing together. Getting back to the Rams, when they used to do it. But I think a singular guy doing it's not a problem as long as it's not something that's really obscene.
Yeah, like the one Antonio Brown did that first week or whatever. Fine him. After that, it's been just stupid.
Yeah. So it's if Odell Beckham, anybody else wants to complain about it, just make sure that you do your celebration with a charity of your choice. Go hug a cancer ribbon, go do something like that, and then you'll be okay.
Cancer ribbon.
Yeah, when they do the October or something like that, when they do the cancer awareness,
True. I do like that got changed to cancer awareness and not just breast cancer month. So now they get to choose.
Yeah. Well, they also have to choose which cancer they want to support now. They don't just get to choose all. They have to. Each team picks the cancer they want to.
Yeah, but I'm sure that people will talk about. Why the hell did I pick Houston? I swear I thought I picked San Diego State. Anyway, yeah, just damn. So, yeah, moving on from the NFL, finally. Let's move on to the college game here. Before we get into the topic that we have that's kind of important now that it's apparently been a big deal over the weekend, anything from any of these games from Saturday to Monday afternoon that you want to mention here? You have Donnell Pumphrey actually breaking the all-time record set by Ron Dane, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was nice to see them get the win as well. The thing I'm going to take on is, not as happy in news, but the Toledo coach just frustrated me. I watched the end of this game as I was basically just done with my Jets, and between a game that I want to talk about here shortly that isn't part of the bowl games, but how you could be down at the 8-yard line and go on a 4th and 2 and decide that you were going to act like you were going to go for it on 4th. But I thought maybe you were going to try to get him to jump off sides, but the quarterback never gets behind center. He just kind of stands in the shotgun and does nothing. And then you get a delay a game to go back 5 yards to then have your kicker miss it wide right. I mean, I can understand if you were on the left hash because college, the hash marks are a lot wider. So maybe the angle would have sucked, but he was right on the left post. So I didn't understand it at all, and I was going to get mad because you could win $1 million for getting all of the bowl picks right on ESPN, but I missed one later that night anyway, so he's off the hook.
All right, fair enough. All right, Gary, anything?
I didn't actually get a chance to watch a lot of these games, but I did know one thing. I was just awful in these pick'ems so far, so not starting out good for me.
Woo, and Houston got whooped. So another one in the can for the whole, the coach leaves and that team just played terrible in the bowl game.
Yeah. I do want to say real fast before we get to the ones coming up. Obviously, I live in the Northwest. We have a good buddy of mine who went to Eastern Washington, who is a Division II team. They were in their semifinals this last weekend, because they have the bigger playoff system, and they were playing Youngstown State. And I have to just bring this up because it was ridiculous, and I'm trying to get the name real quick. But Youngstown State, the Penguins of all things, go to Eastern Washington in the crazy snow that we had, and pulled off a crazy upset in the most miraculous way possible, where I think there was 3 seconds left when they put time back on, but wide receiver Hunter Wells caught the game-winning touchdown off the back of the defender. We've seen it a few times over the years where the receiver reaches around the defender to catch the ball. Well, he did it one-handed off the right shoulder of the defender and held on completely to the ground. And that was the game-winning score for Youngstown State to beat Eastern Washington. And not many people care. I'm not even a huge, Division II fan. I'm not going to sit here and break down games. But it was pretty crazy to see that the number 2 team in Eastern Washington and the number 1 team in North Dakota State both lost in the semifinals. So congratulations to Youngstown State and James Madison for making the finals in Division II.
Didn't they play that final later that weekend? Or
No, they play January 7th.
Okay, well, one of those games, was it both of them that was, they couldn't even see the lines on the field? How the hell do you... even knowing when you get a first down? But
probably Eastern Washington, because like I said, that's a few hours from where I live, and we got plastered with snow this weekend.
Oh, that's...
But again, I only watched about the last half of the fourth quarter, because that was right around the time where the Jets imploded, and I started channel surfing.
So, let's go ahead and just go through these games. We get Tuesday night's game is Western Kentucky, Memphis, and Memphis. Memphis played pretty well this year, but Western Kentucky has really surprised me as far as how well they've done in Conference USA. I'm going to go Western Kentucky here.
I'm going Western Kentucky as well. I just want to be interesting to see them play a tougher team here, but it seems like they were just too good for the competition they had. So I'm taking the Hilltoppers.
Gary's like, I'm avoiding this. I don't want to pick it.
I know. What are my options again?
Western Kentucky and Memphis.
Western Kentucky. I'm going to go Memphis.
All right. So you got the Wyoming Cowboys. They're the winners of the... No, they're not. They lost to... Didn't they lose to whoever it was? They lost to
San Diego State.
So, they were the ones that were performing rather well, and they upset Boise State, taking on BYU, who are always interesting. Who you got?
I got BYU. Yeah, Wyoming beat Boise State, but they've lost their last 2. BYU lost by 1 to that same Boise State team, winners of 7 of their last 8. I like the Cougars.
Yeah, I've been following BYU. I'll go with them too.
I got BYU as well. I think, just being on that big win streak helps a lot when you go into these bowl games. The Thursday night game at 7 is Idaho up there, close to Randy, against Colorado State.
Yeah, and basically a home game for the Vandals as they go down to the hated Boise State Stadium to play. They've been playing well. Very surprising. I went actually to their game when they played WSU and did not play well. Lost that game 56-6. But But I'm going to take Colorado State. Their last game, they beat that same San Diego State team that we just talked about beating Wyoming. They beat them 63-31. They've won 4 of their last 5. Idaho, I want to say, hasn't been in a bowl in the last 6-7 years, and won a crazy game in that one. But I don't see it here. I'm taking Colorado State.
Yeah, that's where I'm going as well. I don't know why. It's just a gut feeling.
I'm going Colorado State as well. You get Eastern Michigan, those Eagles, taking on the Old Dominion Monarchs, who have not been in Division I for too long. I think it's like a couple of years. I'm going to go with Old Dominion here.
You went farther than I did. I have no idea. Go ahead. Go ahead, Gary.
I'm going Eastern Michigan.
I have no idea. I haven't done any research on these games. I thought we were stopping there. I'm going to take Old Dominion as well. Again, the team that's playing well near the end, winners of 5 straight. Give me them.
Navy has faltered the last couple of weeks, even losing the frickin' Army. They're taking on the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs.
Yeah, give me Navy.
Yeah, I know they've been faltering, but give me Navy as well.
Yeah, Louisiana Tech's actually been pretty interesting this year. They could definitely keep up with them in points. So this could be one of those fun shootout games on Friday afternoon to watch. But I'm going to give it Navy as well. Ohio, who lost to Western Michigan in their conference championship game against Troy, who had been the representatives of the Sun Belt pretty much here. I'm going to go with Troy on this one.
Yeah, I'm right with you. I think Troy will pull it off.
No, I'm going to take Ohio in this one. They played Western Michigan pretty well. I think they have a better defense just looking at some of these stats. So give me Ohio.
All right, we're going to end it there, and we'll pick up with the Christmas Eve game and beyond when we get to the next show. But we do have one more thing we probably need to cover here. I know the show's been going really long, but this big old thing about players not playing in the bowl games. You have Leonard Fournette deciding he doesn't want to play in the bowl game because he doesn't want to get hurt. Christian McCaffrey not. Myles Garrett says he will. Where do you fall on this? Is this a big deal? Is it like not being there for your team at the end, even though the playoffs? If you're not in the playoffs, the game doesn't matter. So why should you get yourself hurt? I've heard people talking about it that are not centered in the college game, and it's so funny to hear people just go, well, why don't they just expand the playoffs? But I've also heard people that are entrenched in the college game, and they seem to be kind of upset about this. I don't know. I mean, where do you guys fall on this thing?
Well, this is what you get to me for having such a gap with these bowls. Obviously, the bowls get spread out for money. I mean, if it wasn't for money, they would all be played 2 weeks after the regular season was done, other than maybe the January 1 bowls or something. But they want them so spread out that each of them get their prime time spots. So here you go with some of these players that have NFL aspirations, and they know they're going to turn pro once their college season is over, and they look at it as like, why risk getting hurt right before I go make my big payday? There's no reason to play in this game, so why? I mean, yes, there's school pride and stuff, but some people see the bigger picture, and I have no problem with it. Just like I have no problem if you want to stay and play. If they stay and play and get hurt, that was their decision, and hopefully it isn't too terrible, and NFL teams can see past it and still draft them well. But they're looking at the risk, and they're going risk over reward of playing in a bowl game that they've already played in. These kids have already played in bowl games in their lives. They've had the festivities, and they just don't see the point. And for everyone that hates it, then make coaches stay. Don't let coaches go to other jobs before these bowl games and leave their teams high and dry as well.
Yeah, I'm right there with you on that too. And here's the thing. I think it's about what players feel is best for their future, and they look at a guy like Jalen Smith, who doing excellent, playing for Notre Dame in the bowl game, and then tears his knee up. Doesn't even know right now at this minute, a year later, if he's going to ever play again. Just there's no idea. And he would have been a top 5 pick probably in the draft. I mean, this guy was that good. But at the end of the day, guys like Leonard Fournette, Ed McCaffrey, his son, all these guys, Christian McCaffrey, I just can't remember his first name, Christian McCaffrey, and all the rest of those guys, they have to make those hard decisions based on, how much do I really want to play for this team, or how much do I want to play for my future? Do I want to risk that injury, or do I really want to make sure that we get a bowl win? And the colleges, I think, are looking at this, and the administration is saying, look, we've funded you all this time, and now you're going to let us down here in the bowl game. But I think at the end of the day, they got their money. They made the bowl.
Hold on. What about all these other years that you played, right? Like Christian McCaffrey didn't just go out there and stink up every game. He was their offense. Mm-hmm. Now basically you're crippling Stanford right when they need you the most. But Leonard Fournette played hurt a lot of his career just so that LSU could have a better chance to win. I mean, they haven't had the greatest of seasons with him being there, but he's been their best playmaker, and he's tried his best to be there. I mean, I don't know what else you want from these guys. Remember, you're not paying them. So, I don't know. Maybe this is another question that brings up the whole why you need to pay these guys, but that's just me. Mm-hmm. You want them to play till the end? Pay them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think players would even think differently about this if they were getting paid. I think you're right about that, because they don't see the incentive right now. Just, we're playing for pride, we're playing for the school. Great, but, I looking at my future, and this could affect my future in a negative way.
How many times have we seen players, they get hurt, and then, they went way down because they got hurt?
Mm-hmm.
Well, not even just get hurt, but how many times have we seen a player, go up against different competition and have a terrible bowl game and drop stock?
Yeah, that too. But I mean,
and for all of those people that are going, they're not going to play in the bowl game, they're going to definitely drop in the draft. No, they won't. Not at all.
Not the good ones.
I mean, now listen, if you're Leonard Fournette or Christian McCaffrey, no, you're not. But that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. If you're that fringe third receiver that happened to have a good year this year, but you were nothing the last couple of years, probably.
Well, then you're not sitting out, I don't think.
Yeah. Mm. Well, I think there's a couple that have apparently thought about it or whatever. It's but it's just. It's all on you. If you're not one of these star players and you're sitting out, you run that risk. Just saying. I'm kind of for the players on this. I get the colleges and all these people that want them to play and whatever, but they have to think about themselves. It's just like when you decide, there are some careers that you don't really need to sit there and be in school for all this time, right? So if you get an internship somewhere, or you get a job offer while you're still in school, and you decide, okay, I've done enough in school, I'm obviously already starting to get jobs. Okay, you know what? I'm thinking for myself, forget the rest of the school. I'm just going to work this job. Okay, because how many people have we seen graduate and they're working at frickin' a grocery store because they can't get a job? So, I mean, there is no guarantee that if you play in this game, like Randy said, and you play terrible, well, your stock just dropped. because you played terrible in the last game that they're going to get to see you play, because not everybody gets to go to Senior Bowl. So, that's something to really think about there. But all right, we've gone way too long on the show, usually way much longer than we have, but we had a lot of good stuff to talk about. And we had some good points to make and everything, so hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe to the WTM Network to get the rest of our shows. Visit at WTMNet.com, which we're hoping for next year is really going to keep growing and get better. And, for you guys that have checked it out and enjoy it, thank you. And, we'll be here one more time before then, but, just want to say have a happy holidays and all that. So, all right. For Gary, for Randy, and for myself, we'll see you later, everybody.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.